Hey everyone, pull up a chair and get comfortable because this one's got that slow burn satisfaction we all secretly crave. Picture a warm family dinner, candles flickering, plates piled high with comfort food, the kind of evening where you feel safe among your own people. Then your brother, your own flesh and blood, leans back, smirks, and lets out this loud, mocking laugh right in your face over something you were genuinely proud of. The table freezes for half a second, then a few nervous chuckles join in, and you're sitting there with heat rising in your cheeks, trying to pretend it didn't cut as deep as it did. But what if I told you that single laugh became the spark for one of the most perfectly timed, quietly devastating comebacks of my life? The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was earned. I'm Luna Evergreen, and if you've ever felt small in your own family, stick with me. This revenge story is for you. Let me set the scene properly. It was late fall, one of those crisp Ohio evenings where the leaves are mostly gone and the air smells like wood smoke. We were at Mom and Dad's house, the same split level we've had since the 80s, with the same oak dining table scratched from years of holiday meals and board games. I was 23, just starting to get some traction with freelance graphic design after college. Nothing glamorous, but I loved it. That night we'd invited Jake, my older brother by 4 years, and his girlfriend at the time, Sarah. Jake worked in commercial real estate, always closing deals, always talking numbers like they were poetry. He wore success like cologne, you could smell it coming. Dinner was going great at first. Dad was telling his usual Navy stories, Mom had outdone herself with the pot roast, and we were all laughing at the right moments. Then the talk turned to work. Mom, bless her, asked me about a new client I'd landed, a little boutique coffee shop that wanted a full rebrand. I was excited. I'd spent weeks sketching logos, playing with warm earth tones and a hand-lettered font that felt like a hug in a cup. I started describing it, probably talking too fast because I was proud. It's got this retro diner feel but modern, you know? They loved the steam rising off the coffee mug in the mark, Jake cut me off with a snort, then a full-on belly laugh. Oh man, Luna. Coffee mugs? Steam? That's what you're billing hours for? He leaned forward, elbows on the table like he was delivering a TED Talk. I just closed a 7-figure lease on a downtown office tower. You're out here drawing cartoon coffee while I'm moving actual square footage. Sarah gave a polite giggle. Mom shifted in her seat and said something soft like, "Now, Jake." But he kept going. Remember those crayon masterpieces you used to tape to the fridge? Looks like the fridge is still your biggest gallery. Another big laugh from him, a couple of awkward chuckles from around the table, and just like that the spotlight swung away from me. I mumbled something about different kinds of creativity and stared at my plate. The rest of the meal passed in a blur. I smiled when I was supposed to, nodded at the right times, but inside I was boiling. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his words, the way his laugh bounced off the walls like it owned the room. Jake had always been the star, the quarterback, the valedictorian runner-up, the one who bought the first new car. I was the quiet one who preferred sketchbooks to pep rallies. Our parents loved us both, but Jake's wins were louder. His teasing had been mostly harmless growing up, the big brother ribbing you shrug off. But this time it felt different. Personal. Like he needed to remind everyone, and maybe himself, that he was still on top. Lying there in my childhood bedroom, listening to the furnace kick on, I decided I wasn't going to swallow it anymore. Not with anger, not with tears. With something smarter. Something that would make him feel, just for a moment, exactly what I'd felt. The next morning I woke up clear-headed and already plotting. Revenge for me isn't about screaming matches or petty sabotage. It's about precision, finding the exact spot where someone's confidence wobbles and giving it the gentlest, most undeniable push. Jake's weak spot? His kitchen bravado. The man could sell million-dollar properties over the phone, but put him near a stove and suddenly he was all thumbs. There was the infamous college incident where he tried to make fancy carbonara for a date and set off the smoke alarm so badly the RA showed up with a fire extinguisher. He laughed about it publicly, but privately? He hated that story. And our family had a standing monthly potluck coming up in 10 days. Jake had already told Sarah he'd bring something impressive this time. Game on. I started subtle. I called Mom midweek, casual as anything. Hey, looking forward to the potluck. What's Jake making? She said he was talking about bacon-wrapped scallops or some upscale appetizer. Perfect, fancy enough to brag about, tricky enough to botch. Then I texted Sarah. We were friendly, she'd liked a few of my Instagram posts. I sent her a reel of a simple but gorgeous appetizer recipe, prosciutto-wrapped dates with goat cheese and a balsamic reduction. This would be killer for the potluck, I wrote. Easy but looks expensive. She loved it and forwarded it to Jake. I knew he wouldn't follow the recipe exactly, he'd add his twist, which usually meant doubling everything and turning up the heat. Over the next few days I layered it on lightly. I accidentally sent Jake a group chat message meant for a friend, a screenshot of an old article about kitchen fire statistics with the caption, "Never forget face with tears of joy." Then I followed up with, "Oops, sorry, wrong thread." But seriously, good luck with the cooking, big bro, he replied with a middle finger emoji and, "I've got this." Exactly the energy I wanted. Meanwhile I prepped my own contribution, a massive grazing board loaded with aged cheddar, honeycomb, fresh figs, prosciutto roses, and hand-arranged crackers that looked like art. I'd practiced the layout twice, simple elegance that photographs well and tastes even better. No room for error, no chance to look amateur. Potluck day arrived. The house filled with aunts, uncles, cousins, the smell of green bean casserole and pumpkin pie. Jake walked in last, carrying a foil-covered tray like it was a trophy. "Wait till you see this," he announced, setting it down with a flourish. He pulled off the foil to reveal charred, shriveled dates leaking cheese, swimming in a sticky black puddle that used to be balsamic. The smell hit like vinegar and regret. "I added extra glaze for depth," he said proudly. People took polite nibbles. Aunt Rita made a face and reached for her napkin. Uncle Frank coughed once and said, "Got some character." The tray sat mostly untouched. When the compliments started rolling. "In for my grazing board, Luna, this is restaurant quality. How do you make everything look so pretty?" I just smiled and said thank you. Then, casually, I turned to Jake. "Those dates look adventurous. Kinda reminds me of that carbonara night in college, bold move. At least no fire department this time, right?" I laughed softly, like we were sharing an inside joke. The room went still. Forks paused. Sarah's eyes widened. Jake's smile froze, then slowly melted. No one jumped in to save him. No quick subject change. Just silence, thick, real, satisfying silence. He poked at his own dish, muttered, "Yeah, well, live and learn," and the conversation limped forward without him leading it for once. The potluck wrapped up eventually, like all family gatherings do, plates cleared, leftovers divvied up, hugs goodbye in the driveway under the porch light. But that silence at the table? It lingered in the air long after everyone went home. I could feel it every time Jake glanced my way and quickly looked down at his phone. Sarah kept shooting me these little side eyes, half amused, half concerned, like she knew something had shifted but wasn't sure whose side to take yet. Me? I floated through the rest of the evening on this quiet high. Not gloating out loud, never that, but inside, yeah, I was savoring it. For once, the room hadn't rushed to fill the awkward space he created. It just sat there, heavy and honest, until he had to carry it himself. The next couple of weeks were interesting. Jake didn't text me his usual, just closed another deal, flex posts. No more screenshots of fancy steak dinners or golf outings with clients. His Instagram stories went quiet on the work brag front. Instead, I saw him posting about hikes with Sarah, coffee runs, normal stuff. Almost like he was trying to dial back the spotlight. Mom mentioned in passing that he'd asked her for her old meatloaf recipe, something foolproof, he called it. I smiled into my coffee mug when she told me that. Progress. But family doesn't let things die that easily. Thanksgiving was looming, just 3 weeks away, and our house always turns into command central for the holiday. Mom assigns dishes like a general, Dad on turkey, aunts on sides, cousins on desserts. This year she texted the group chat, "Jake, you're on gravy. Make it from the pan drippings. Like Grandpa used to. No shortcuts." Jake replied with a thumbs up emoji and challenge accepted. I could practically hear the overconfidence through the screen. I didn't plan anything dramatic at first. Honestly, part of me thought the potluck had done enough. But then, during a family Zoom call to finalize the menu, because yes, we do Zoom menu planning now, Jake started in again, light version. Someone asked how my freelance work was going, and I mentioned I'd just finished a branding package for a new cafe chain in Columbus. Small but growing account, good money, and they were talking about expanding it to social media assets. Before I could even finish, Jake chuckled. "Cafe branding? That's cute. Hope they like steam art." He said it with a wink, like we were all in on the joke now. Sarah elbowed him on camera. Mom changed the subject fast. But that little jab? It reignited the spark. Fine. If he wanted to keep poking, I'd give him one more gentle lesson. I kept it subtle, elegant even. The day before Thanksgiving, I sent the family group a helpful link to a classic gravy recipe from a cooking site I knew Jake followed. Simple roux, deglaze with white wine, finish with fresh herbs. I added a note, "This one's foolproof. Just don't crank the heat too high on the wine reduction, burns easy." Jake hearted the message. "Thanks, sis. Got it covered." Perfect. Thanksgiving morning the house smelled like heaven, sage, onions, roasting turkey. I was on pie duty, pumpkin and pecan, both from scratch crusts, and I had everything under control. Jake was in the kitchen corner, sleeves rolled up, whisk in hand, looking focused. I wandered in around noon to grab water. "How's the gravy coming?" I asked sweetly. "Smells good already." He grinned. "Added a splash of that white wine like you said. Elevating it." I nodded. "Smart. Just keep the flame low." He waved me off like I was being overcautious. 10 minutes later, the kitchen filled with that unmistakable sharp, acrid smell of scorched alcohol. Jake cursed under his breath, stirring frantically. The gravy had gone from smooth beige to lumpy brown with dark flecks. Mom poked her head in. "Everything okay?" Jake forced a laugh. "Just experimenting. It'll be fine." It wasn't fine. When we sat down to eat, the gravy boat made its rounds. Dad took a generous pour, tasted it, paused, then reached for more cranberry sauce. Aunt Linda said diplomatically, "It's got depth." Cousin Mike, never one for tact, went straight, "Tastes like it got angry." Laughter rippled, gentle but real. I waited until the boat reached me. I took a small spoonful, tasted, then looked at Jake across the table with wide eyes. Wow. Adventurous, bro, kinda like those dates at the potluck, really went for that bold flavor profile. I smiled, kept my tone light, almost affectionate. "Remember when you said my coffee mug logo was cartoonish? Guess we're both out here pushing creative boundaries." Another soft laugh from me, then I moved on to compliment Mom's stuffing. The table went quiet again. Not hostile quiet, more like everyone collectively decided not to rescue him this time. Forks clinked. Someone asked Dad about the football game later. Jake sat there, cheeks pink, pushing mashed potatoes around his plate. Sarah rubbed his arm under the table. No one piled on. No one needed to. The silence did the work. Later, while we were stacking dishes in the kitchen, Jake cornered me by the sink. The rest of the family was in the living room watching the game. He kept his voice low. "Okay. I get it." I rinsed a plate, didn't look up right away. "Get what?" He sighed. "The potluck. The gravy. I was being a jerk at dinner that night. I know I was showing off, and, yeah, I shouldn't have laughed at you like that. Your work's good, Luna. Really good. I'm proud of you. He swallowed. I'm sorry. I turned off the faucet, dried my hands, and finally met his eyes. They were sincere, no smirk, no deflection. Thanks, I said quietly. That means a lot. We stood there for a second, the hum of the dishwasher between us. Then he pulled me into a quick, awkward side hug, the kind brothers give when they're not used to being vulnerable. Won't happen again, he muttered. I hugged back. Better not. Or next time I'll make you eat your own burnt reduction on camera. He laughed, real laugh, not mocking, and we both relaxed. It wasn't a Hallmark moment, but it was honest. And for the first time in years, it felt like we were on even ground. The holidays rolled on from there. Christmas came, and Jake actually asked, if I'd designed their save-the-date cards for the engagement announcement. Your style's perfect for this, he said. No sarcasm. I said yes, and I poured everything into them, soft watercolor evergreens, elegant script, a tiny hidden coffee mug in the corner as my own private Easter egg. When they went out, people raved. Jake texted me, everyone's obsessed. You killed it. Small victories. Our dynamic shifted after that. He stopped the one-upping. I stopped waiting for the next jab. We started texting more, normal stuff, memes, asking for advice. He even started asking me about branding ideas for a side project he was thinking about. Revenge, it turns out, doesn't always need to be sharp. Sometimes it's just holding up a mirror until the other person sees themselves clearly. The months after Thanksgiving felt different, lighter somehow. Jake and I weren't suddenly best friends who texted daily memes or anything dramatic like that, but the undercurrent of competition had drained away. Family dinners became normal. He'd ask about my latest client without the eye roll. I'd compliment his new tie without waiting for the punchline. Small things, but they added up. Christmas rolled around, and for the first time in years, I actually looked forward to the whole extended family chaos without bracing for a jab. Jake and Sarah had gotten engaged right after Thanksgiving, quietly at first, then with the full announcement at the Christmas Eve gathering. Everyone was thrilled. Mom cried happy tears, Dad shook Jake's hand like he'd just won a prize, and started talking venues and dresses immediately. Then Jake turned to me in the middle of the living room, everyone still buzzing around the tree. Hey, Luna, we want you to do the save-the-date cards. And maybe some of the invitation stuff too. Your art style is exactly what we're going for, elegant but not stuffy, you know? He said it casually, but his eyes were earnest. No smirk. No, but don't make it too cartoony, follow-up. Just straight up asking for my help because he valued it. I said yes, of course. How could I not? Over the next few weeks I worked on the designs in my spare time. I went with a soft winter palette, deep evergreens, creamy whites, touches of gold foil accents. The main illustration was a simple line drawing of intertwined branches forming their initials, with tiny delicate snowflakes falling. And yes, I snuck in one little private joke. In the bottom corner of the back of the card, almost invisible unless you looked close, I added a miniature coffee mug with steam rising in the shape of a heart. My own quiet nod to that dinner night. I didn't tell anyone about it. It was just for me. When the proofs came back and I shared them with Jake and Sarah over video call, Sarah gasped. These are stunning. Seriously, Luna, they're magazine-worthy. Jake leaned in closer to the screen, studying every detail. Then he spotted the tiny mug. His eyebrows shot up. Is that? He started laughing, not mocking, but the kind of laugh that comes with recognition. You sneaky little, he shook his head, grinning wide. That's perfect. Leave it. It's our inside joke now. Sarah looked confused until he explained the coffee mug logo story. She laughed too, then hugged him from the side. Your siblings are weird, she said fondly. But I love it. The cards went out in early January. Responses poured in, texts, emails, even a few old-fashioned phone calls from relatives. Those save-the-dates are gorgeous. Who designed them? Tell Luna she's incredible. Jake forwarded every compliment to me with a simple, told you so. No gloating on his part. Just pride. It felt good. Wedding planning kicked into high gear through the spring. I was asked to be a bridesmaid, which surprised me a little. I'd always assumed Sarah would pick her college friends first. But she said, "You've become like a sister to me too, and your creative eye is going to make everything look cohesive." I helped with table numbers, menu cards, even custom signage for the venue. Every piece I touched got the same reaction: awe, compliments, photos snapped for Instagram. Jake watched it all without a trace of jealousy. If anything, he seemed relieved. Like he'd finally stopped needing to prove he was the successful one. The wedding day itself was in late June, at this beautiful old barn venue about an hour outside Columbus. Rustic but polished, string lights draped across beams, wildflower centerpieces, long wooden tables that begged for my grazing board aesthetic. The weather cooperated perfectly: warm sun, soft breeze, no humidity. I stood up with the other bridesmaids in pale sage dresses that flowed like water, watching Sarah walk down the aisle looking like she stepped out of a fairy tale. Jake, in his charcoal suit, had actual tears in his eyes when he saw her. I'd never seen him look that vulnerable, that open. It hit me then, maybe he'd always been loud and boastful because deep down he was afraid of not being enough. The same way I'd sometimes felt invisible next to him. During the reception, toast started after dinner. Dad went first, classic Navy humor, made everyone laugh. Then Sarah's best friend, sweet and sentimental. Then it was my turn. I hadn't planned a long speech, I just wanted to keep it real. I stood up, glass of champagne in hand, and looked right at them. To Jake and Sarah. Watching you two today, it's beautiful. Jake, you've always been the guy who gets things done. Big deals, big laughs, big energy. And yeah, sometimes that energy came with a side of teasing. A few knowing chuckles from the family tables. Remember that Sunday dinner a while back? When you laughed at my little coffee doodles? More soft laughter, heads nodding. Jake's face went a shade pinker, but he was smiling. I went home that night and thought about it for a long time. And you know what? I'm glad you laughed. Because it made me work harder. It made me prouder of what I do. And look around, this whole day has my fingerprints on it too. The cards, the signs, the little details. Turns out doodles can build something pretty damn special. I paused, let that sink in. The barn was quiet except for the soft clink of glasses and the distant hum of crickets outside. So here's to you, big brother. For pushing me, even when you didn't mean to. And for learning how to cheer louder than you criticize. I love you. Both of you. I raised my glass. To Jake and Sarah. Everyone toasted. Glasses clinked. And then came the silence again, but this time it was different. Warm. Reflective. Full of people smiling, wiping eyes, nodding like they'd just heard something true. Jake stood up, walked over, and pulled me into a real hug, not the awkward side one from Thanksgiving, but a full, tight one. Thank you, he whispered so only I could hear. For everything. Sarah joined in, squeezing us both. The DJ started. The music back up, and the moment dissolved into dancing and cake cutting and laughter. Later that night, as the party wound down and people started drifting toward the parking lot, Jake found me again by the dessert table. Hey, he said quietly. I meant what I said earlier. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry it took me so long to show it right. I nodded. I know. We're good. And we were. The revenge part? It had faded long before the wedding. What started as a petty kitchen sabotage and a pointed gravy comment had turned into something better, mutual respect. Balance. The silence after that original laugh wasn't the end of a feud, it was the beginning of us actually seeing each other. These days we text more than we ever did growing up. He sends me funny finance memes, I send him design inspo for his office rebrand. Family dinners are easy now, no tension, no scorekeeping. Just us, being siblings the way we're supposed to be. And that's the end of the story. From one mocking laugh at a dinner table to toasts and hugs at a wedding. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't about winning, it's about both of you ending up better. The wedding glow lasted longer than I expected. Photos popped up everywhere, Sarah's Instagram feed turned into a highlight reel of the day, my designs front and center in almost every shot. Relatives kept tagging me, Luna made these gorgeous signs. Those save the dates were perfection. Even Jake reposted a few with captions like, best sister ever, and a heart emoji. No sarcasm. No backhanded compliment. Just straight gratitude. It was weird at first, getting used to him lifting me up instead of poking holes, but it felt right. Summer faded into fall, and life kept moving. I landed my biggest client yet, a regional chain of independent bookstores that wanted a full rebrand, logos, packaging, even in-store murals. The project kept me busy for months, sketching late into the night, tweaking colors until they felt like home. When the launch happened in early October, the owner sent me flowers and a handwritten note. Your work brought our stores to life. Thank you for seeing what we couldn't. I framed the note and hung it above my desk. Small reminder that the doodles Jake once mocked were building something real. Jake, meanwhile, was settling into married life. He and Sarah bought a house, a cute craftsman in a quiet neighborhood not far from mom and dad. One Saturday in November they invited the whole family over for a housewarming. The place was still half unpacked, boxes everywhere, but they'd set up the dining room with folding tables and string lights. Jake was in the kitchen attempting, to make appetizers. I walked in and found him frowning at a tray of what looked like very sad mini quiches. The edges were brown, the centers wobbly. He saw me and laughed first. Don't say it. I raised my hands. I wasn't going to. But I smiled. He shook his head. Okay, fine. Say it. I leaned against the counter. Looks like the gravy ghost came back for revenge. We both cracked up, real, easy laughter that filled the kitchen. Sarah poked her head in. What's so funny? Jake pointed at the tray. My cooking. Again. She rolled her eyes fondly. You too and your inside jokes. The rest of the afternoon was relaxed. Kids running around the backyard, aunts gossiping on the porch, Dad helping Jake hang shelves in the garage. At one point Jake pulled me aside near the fireplace. Hey, I wanted to show you something. He led me to the little home office he'd set up. On the wall above his desk was one of my old sketches, from years ago, a silly cartoon of our family dog wearing sunglasses. I'd drawn it when I was maybe 15, taped it to the fridge, and Jake had secretly kept it all this time. Found it in a box when we were moving, he said. Figured it deserved a frame. I stared at it, throat tight. You kept that? He shrugged. Yeah. Always liked your stuff. Even when I was too dumb to say it. I hugged him without thinking. Thanks, Jake. He hugged back. No, thank you. For calling me on my crap. I needed it. That housewarming set the tone for everything after. Holidays came and went, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and the old patterns never resurfaced. No more scorekeeping. No more needing to prove who was better. We'd tease each other, sure, but it was gentle now. Playful. Safe. When my bookstore rebrand launched, Jake drove 2 hours just to see the first store unveiling. He stood there in the crowd, taking photos, texting me thumbs up emojis the whole time. Later he posted one online, my sister's work on full display. So proud. The comments flooded in from our cousins, aunts, even old high school friends. Jake being wholesome? Pinch me. A couple years on, time flies when things are good. Jake and Sarah announced they were expecting a little girl. The family went wild. Mom started knitting blankets immediately. Dad built a crib. And Jake? He asked if I'd design the nursery art. Something soft, he said. Like your style. Maybe a few storybook animals, but make it personal. I spent weeks on it. Watercolor woodland scenes with hidden Easter eggs, a tiny coffee mug on a stump, a gravy boat shaped like a cloud, little nods only we would catch. When I delivered the framed pieces, Sarah cried happy tears. Jake just stood there looking at them, arm around her, then turned to me. You're gonna be the coolest aunt. And that's how it ends, not with a big dramatic showdown, but with quiet moments stacking up until the past feels small. That one laugh at dinner, the one that burned so bad I couldn't sleep. It became the story we tell now at family gatherings. Remember when Jake roasted Luna about her logos? Someone will say, and we'll all laugh, together. Jake always adds, yeah, and then she roasted me right back. Deserved every second of it. No bitterness. Just truth. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free from the need to prove anything, free to just be siblings who actually like each other. That silence after his laugh. It wasn't empty. It was space. Space for both of us to grow into better versions. And we did. If this story wrapped things up in a way that felt right to you, if it made you smile, or nod, or remember your own family quirks, please give it a like, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with someone who might need this kind of ending today. And drop a comment below. Where are you watching or listening from right now? Thank you for sticking with this story all the way through. You're the reason I keep telling them.